these drinks hit us a little too hard. I didn't even introduce you, sis.
This
is so crazy. And you went right on. You went right on. You was like, okay, that's fine. Anyway, this is my good sis Martecia for those that are tuning in.
Follow me on Instagram at your under.
You know what?
Okay.
I was gonna shout that out at the end, but I mean, get it off your chest. Like,
I think it's at your.
What you mean you think?
Thank you for tuning in to sip on this with a Paris. About to get lit with these topics. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for the love and your time. Forget to like, comment, subscribe. Without further ado, I bring to you this for you to sip on too.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to our premiere episode of Sip on This. Before I introduce my special guest for this evening, I feel like with a podcast called Sip on This, we gotta sip on something. And I don't mean these little cocktails.
Oh, all right.
So I got us some shots lined up. So
wow.
Yeah, there you go.
Wow. Okay.
Just a little tequila.
All right.
You know, just
nothing
a little.
Too crazy.
Nothing too crazy. So I wanted to go ahead and toast this up, though, again, with this being our premiere episode and everything. So first off, cheers to you. Appreciate you, Bit Dog, for coming through. Premiere episode doing big things. And this is to a successful launch for the podcast.
For sure. More
More episodes coming on soon with more special guests. And yeah, to success. So let's do this.
For sure.
Oh, wow.
All right, now. Let's get into it.
Whew. Oh, this drink is good, though. All right, so
Water.
I know you're lying. All right, so look. So I was thinking, right?
Right.
I was trying to think of like a good topic to kick off our first episode, and then it dawned on me. We should just talk about what's been going on this last year with COVID.
Right.
Like, and all the changes and like just so many things that, you know, have transpired in life, you know, from start till now. So like, walk me through your mental state and like things that you've personally experienced and just your thoughts about everything that's going on currently.
Right. So this has been a long, crazy year, and I feel like I'm like up and down with it. Like sometimes I'm just like nervous, like, dang, okay, I should stay in the house. I should not do anything.
Right.
And then I'm like, okay,
I gotta like live.
I have a life to live. I can't just stay in the house at all times. And I think back when COVID first hit, or when it first became a thing. So I'm an attorney. So I work in the courthouses in North Carolina. So I think it was March 13th that everything just kind of shut down. Like all the courthouses shut down in the state. Like it wasn't happening. And so my boss just kind of sent us home with our laptops, like go home until further notice, because nobody really knew at the time what was going on.
Yeah. But
I do know, if I knew then what I know now,
right,
I would have been outside. Okay? Just like, okay, even when we was doing your birthday trip last year, your 30th birthday trip, planned it. Had I known that this was still going to be going on, I would have went to Jamaica. I would have went because it doesn't seem like it's going anywhere. Yeah. So enjoy your life.
Yeah.
Take the precautions that are recommended, of course, but live your life. Yeah. Wear that mask and
wear that mask. Plane. Heavy on that mask.
Heavy on the mask and heavy on the flight.
So like, dang, that made me lose my train of thought. Oh no, but what I was gonna say was I remember when everything kicked off. I had the same mindset as you. I'll never forget. I was watching TV one night, and my homegirl hit me up and was like, "Yo," she was like, "I know you're offline or whatever, but I'm working late, and we just got this crazy email from like above site," and I'm like, "What does it say?" And she's just like, "Yeah, they said that we have to do something called socially distance tomorrow." And I was like, social distance? I was like, what does it say? She says it doesn't say anything other than starting tomorrow, we have to social distance and we can't congregate in big groups or have like meetings like we're typically used to having.
Yeah, I remember you telling. I feel like your job was like one of the first to start doing that.
Yeah,
because I remember you telling us about that in the group chat. Like,
oh yeah, I did.
Like, that you couldn't like leave your desk for lunch and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I forgot about
that. Your job was like the first to kind of be like, "Hey, okay."
But see, the thing is, I remember going to work the next day and like everyone was looking at each other like, "Do you know what's going on or no?"
Are we in timeout?
And then like lunch came around and like everyone still went to the caf. The caf was still lit, so we was like, okay.
Not the caf was lit.
It was.
So look, at a school.
So look, they're like, I remember, me and my two homegirls that were having lunch together that day. We did like separate ourselves from the group, basically to talk to figure out like what was going on or whatever. And then I remember, all of a sudden, like, everyone started like scattering all over the place. Not really like chaotic, like, but it was just like all their managers were calling a meeting. Mm-hmm. So like we again couldn't meet in person, so we met through like our virtual stuff that they got set up for us at work. And they were basically like, yeah, so take all your stuff that you'll need to start working from home. We start working from home tomorrow until further notice. And everyone's on the call like, bro, what is going on? And they're just like, we know just as much as y'all do at this point. And I'm like,
well, we know nothing.
Right. So we go home the next day, start working from home, and been working from home ever since. Like, well, I work from home majority of the time. I just go in once a week, which, I mean, I'm not going to lie. I'm one of the fortunate people that like, this has been pretty lit for me. It's been pretty chill, but I know it's hit a lot of people pretty hard, which is unfortunate. But yeah, like, and to the point that you was talking about earlier, though, like, they kept trying to have, like, I guess, like, wishful thinking, like, oh, like, there's a vaccine that we can come up with. It'll be no time, but, you know, I work in pharmaceuticals. So I'm like, no, that's not how this works. This is a process. Like, it has to go through several, like, trials and all that, and has to go through FDA before they can't just be injecting stuff into your body. Right. Like, right. So, you know, my mindset, and something else I remember before, like, the barbershops and stuff closed, I remember my barber at the time, he was like, so I'm letting you know now, I got someone that worked downtown that they're saying that starting tomorrow, they're about to put out this announcement that we got quarantined for 14 days. I was like, that's ghetto. I was like, and that doesn't even sound realistic. Like, what do you mean quarantine for 14 days? I was like, what about people that still have to go to work? Mm-hmm. Like, how is that going to work? And he was like, look, all I know is they're going to announce it tomorrow. So you might want to go to the store and start doing stuff today. And I was like, no. I was like, I'm not doing that.
Ransacking the store.
Right.
Getting all the tissue. And,
yo, that toilet paper.
And all the Clorox wipes and...
We went through that toilet paper thing for a minute.
Like
a minute too long.
What was the tip off that you needed tissue?
I remember, but I don't, because I think it started actually overseas, and then it got on social media. Right. And that's when everyone was just like, "Oh, I'm gonna buy like all the toilet paper out the store when I go."
Right. Like, I'm just gonna get 7 packs.
Yeah, and it was crazy because like, so my family in New York and my family in South Carolina, actually, we were having, like, my parents, like, anytime they were out, they were having to grab toilet paper to actually ship to them. Right. Because like my grandparents, like in both states, they couldn't find any of that stuff anywhere. And I was just like, yo, like I myself picked up a couple packs too or whatever. I was like, yo, this is nuts. And then like, you know, it's crazy when like our elders, like you turn to them like, yo, like, have you ever been through something like this before? And they're like, no, this is different.
Yeah, definitely. My grandfather's 91, and he said he's never seen anything like this in his life. I mean, I guess the last time something like this happened was what, 1918, the Spanish,
something like that.
Spanish
yeah,
flu.
Something like that.
So it's real crazy. But I mean, like you said, it's been pretty good for you. The pandemic has been good to me too. I was fortunate enough to buy a home. in the middle of the pandemic. I was fortunate enough to remain employed when that's not everybody's reality.
Right.
A lot of people lost their jobs, their homes, their family members.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I personally feel like if we would have shut down for real, like some of the other countries did, that we would have been better off. Even now, they're telling people, stay home unless you absolutely have to go out. Mm-hmm. Who absolutely has to go to the bowling alley?
Right.
The bowling alley is open. That's why I'm going to bowl.
Right. So, like, restaurants are open. I be hungry, so I'm going to go eat.
Okay. Like, if they shut it down and don't give people the option to do these things, we could have did away with all of this stuff. So, I don't know. I think it's getting better. I try not to watch the news too much.
I don't watch the news at all. I'm gonna keep it 100. I don't watch.
I might type it in a little bit. Be like, what them numbers looking like? But I think it's getting better. You know, Daddy Roy took us off punishment.
Yeah.
So we can
I heard. I just got that
outside.
Yesterday.
Right. So we can stay outside a little bit.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's getting better, and majority of the people done already had it.
I mean, yeah, including me. Man, I remember I had COVID back in, I think, August. I think it was like the last week of July, first week of August, something like that. Mm-hmm. And I remember, so somebody in our group, you know who you are. So somebody in our group had it. They sent out the text, and I was just with them. So I was like, bro, and you know I'm the sick one in the group.
So sickly.
Like, I get sick. I'm just a sickly person. So I was just like, right when I read that, I was like, wow, so it's coming. And there's no prepping for it. So I'm like, whenever she show up, Big Rona go show up and she go show out. I knew she was going to. So I'll never forget, like, a few days passed, and right when I thought I was in the clear, I remember waking up. It wasn't. It was like midday. I realized I had like a sore throat, but I have really bad allergies and stuff too. So I was just like, oh, whatever. With it being summer, with it being hot, I'm like, whatever. So then the next morning I woke up. I was like, okay, it's kind of lingering. So like, okay, I think I took like vitamin C or something. And then that next day hit. I was like, oh no, this is the big one. This is it. I remember. I woke up and like my entire body was in pain, like from my head to my feet, like everything hurt. And then like I have pre-existing like health issues too, and it was like all that progress that I had made, it took me back to square one. So like I was in pain times two. I was just like, bruh, I was just like, Lord, like if you want me to stay home going forward, just say that. You ain't got to take me out like this. And it
don't
was
lie to the Lord because you know you're going to stay home.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. That was, I repent. But like, so like, but our two homies that got it though, they had symptoms. One, I don't even think had symptoms. And the one that gave it to us, he had symptoms for a day and that was it. Me, it ate me alive. Like, I legit was like in shambles for the full 14 days. Cause like, what also a lot of people don't know is it's like I don't want to say the government, but like you're monitored. Mm-hmm. So like every day during those 14 days or whatever, they were calling me every morning like, what's your status today? What symptoms are you having? What symptoms have you stopped having? I'm like, I'm still having all of them. What are you talking about? Mm-hmm. And they're like, oh, well, by the 10th day, if you don't have any anymore by the 10th day, you can go back outside. And I'm like, well, what is everyone talking about on the news saying 14 days? And they're like, oh, well, that was speculation at first. That's what we believed. But after doing research, after X amount of months, we've noticed this trend of where if you haven't had any symptoms by the 10th day, like basically the virus is now dormant. So like you can't spread it to anybody after that. But I remember it took me, honestly, the worst part, outside from the body aches and stuff, because that did seize after a few days. To me, what was the worst, because I love to eat, I didn't have an appetite because I didn't have that sense of taste or smell. That was trash.
So you lost your taste or smell? I
couldn't taste or smell nothing. Like everything I ate, it was literally, everything tastes like metal. It was almost like, don't judge me for saying this, because yes, I do know this for a fact. Have you ever like swallowed a penny?
No, actually.
Okay,
no.
well,
No.
okay, so I have to clear myself. Okay,
You do.
I have to explain myself.
Yeah.
So what happened was when I was real little, I just remember looking at a penny one day saying, "I bet I can swallow this."
Of all the food in your pantry, you felt like you could swallow the penny.
I don't know why. Listen, A, I said I was little. B, I honestly can't. I can't tell you my mindset. I just looked at it one day. I said, "This looks small enough to swallow." And when I tell you, I immediately choked.
Kids be doing the most.
And I remember my grandma was with me, and she gave me a mean 2-piece to my bag.
As she should have. Because why would you do that?
Man, I don't know. But that's what it took me back to. Like, everything just tasted like pennies. It was trash. It took me like 2 full weeks to get my taste and smell back.
So that's my first time hearing that. Because when you hear if you lost your taste for smell, I'm thinking, okay, everything tastes like water. Not pennies, but water. I mean, thankfully I have never had COVID. I have had a few scares.
Right. Who hasn't at this point?
Right. And quite frankly, I'm tired of it. I'm so tired of it.
I feel like you get tested every other week.
I know them people at the testing site sick of me, okay? Yeah. I know they sick of me. Ma'am, you back again?
Again. You got to stand an appointment at this point.
That is right. So, okay, speaking of lack of taste and smell, in December I went to a wedding. And one of my best friends was sitting beside me at the wedding. We was having a good old time. It was real fancy, right? So 2 days after the wedding, she texted me and she said, like you said, I have a standing appointment at the testing site. She said, how much does it cost to get tested? I said, oh, girl, it's free. Why? And she was like, I can't smell. I said, I know you lying. Not after I was just sitting beside you. Kiki. I said, I know you lying. So she got tested. Of course, she had it. And I'm like, oh, Lord. Now I got to get tested. Thankfully, I didn't have it. This immune system's sturdy, okay?
I mean, I feel like ever since I've known you, I don't really ever recall you being sick.
I was like, okay. Thank you, Lord. Because I was real concerned. I was real nervous. Because I think before that, I had been tested before that because one of my coworkers' mom had it.
Yeah.
And so it was like kind of far down the line, but that was my first time being exposed.
Yeah.
Like being by somebody that actually had it.
Yeah.
So I was like, Lord, please. And of course I got a little one, so I'm just like, Lord. And then it's just been a downward spiral from there. I've been getting tested every week. every single week.
Oh man. So the first time I got tested, I think you mentioned Jamaica. Mm-hmm. When I went to, so again, I had planned out this like lit trip to Jamaica for my 30th back in June. And of course, like Jamaica closed down and they opened back up July 1st. And literally like 3 days before we were supposed to leave, we got a notification from our agent saying, hey, FYI, they now are going to require you guys to get tested before you go. And we're like, well, no, it wasn't before we went. It was when we landed. Mm-hmm. So it was like, okay, but what if we land and we get our results back and they're positive? Then what? She's like, so as of now, it sounds like they'll quarantine you there. And we're like, okay, well, does that mean we pay or for the additional days we're staying or what? And she was like, it sounds like they're going to comp your stay. So at that point, I'm like, quarantine in North Carolina, quarantine in Jamaica. This is a no-brainer. Right. And they're going to feed me every day.
Every day.
And I get to sit on my deck and look at the beach. Like, this is, like, quarantine me. Okay. Just do that.
Ain't no problem.
So then, like, I think the day, like, maybe the day or so before we left, like, the day after that, then it was like, actually, they don't know if they're going to allow you guys to stay there, but what they will do instead is allow you guys to go to the hospital. Right. And so, of course, like my group, we had to get together and be like, look, so what are y'all trying to do? And basically at that point, everyone was like, I don't think any of us had been exposed to COVID ever by that time. Well, as far as we knew. So everyone was like, I'm sure we would have some sort of symptom by now if we were exposed.
I don't think things were even that bad back then.
I mean, they weren't.
We thought they were, but not as bad as when it got cold outside.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, absolutely. So, like, I remember, man, so when we got to Jamaica, so this was my first time in Jamaica, and it felt like it was like a war zone when we landed. Like, I went from being real anxious to like wanting to hurry up and get there to start doing hood rat things. And then when we landed, it was just, I just remember it being so packed, and like their military was like real heavy at the airport because they was like, of course, like orchestrating everything, and it was just like intense. And then, like, thankfully, our agent gave us this service called Club Mobe, where it's basically like a VIP skip line. And when I tell you, people were like mean mugging us the whole time because, like, we skipped technical difficulties back to our regularly scheduled program. So anyway, yeah, I just remember everyone mean mugging us because we got to skip to the front of all the checkpoints, and everything went left because, so basically right after they notify you, which we knew, so the way that they did it, the way you found out whether you were being tested or not, first off, you should have been notified before you even got to Jamaica. Because basically they determined who was being tested depending on your age and where you were coming from. North Carolina was a hot spot at the time, so we already knew most likely we were getting tested, but I think they only tested you if you were above the age, if you were under the age of 35. Because I guess they determined that like above 35, or it may have been 40. Either way, above that age, they determined that you were more at risk of getting it than giving it to somebody. Right. So, they sent us off to get tested or whatever in like different stations. And right before they did that, they were like, oh yeah, FYI, you know you have to quarantine like at your hotel for 2 days. And we were like, no. Well, no, I'm sorry. They told us, they said quarantine at your hotel for 2 days. And we were like, no, that's not what we were told. Right. And they were like, oh, well, that's what our government, issued that statement. Right. And we were just like, what? So, of course, like, when I met back up with the group, and so Club Mobe also is legit like a mini, like, VIP section in the airport. So you get to sit in it, and, like, they give you, like, complimentary drinks, food, like, alcohol. So, like, I meet up with the rest of the group, and everyone had a different experience. Like, every set had a different experience because, like, me and my cousin, we were told you can't leave the resort for 2 days, but everybody else were told they couldn't leave their room. Right. So we were just like, no, that's definitely not what they told us or whatever. So at that point, somebody reached out to the agent. Luckily, the agent has family in Jamaica, and one of her, I think, family members is on like their some board in Jamaica or whatever. So like she's part of the people who issues like statements and stuff to the country or whatever as far as the regulations and stuff. So basically, her cousin notified her. She was like, no, they just can't leave their resort until they get their results back. Which really, although they were telling us 48 hours, really we should have had them back in 24 hours. So amongst the group, we were like, well, look, if one of us tests positive, they might as well just send us all to the hospital because, like, we can't go that far, right? We can't go that far and leave somebody behind, essentially, So what was crazy was after 24 hours, something else they told us. They told us they were going to put a tracker on our phone to make sure we abided by, like, their regulations, but no one ever downloaded a tracker to our phones. So then when we got to Jamaica, when we got to our resort, it was their first day opening again, and they had very little training prior to us getting there. It took us 3 hours to check in, and we were the second group to arrive. And we were only a group of 6.
Yeah, I know a lot of this stuff is trial and error.
But it was actually lit because we had basically majority of the resort to ourselves. They upgraded all of our rooms to swim ups. Like, that part was lit, but the one thing that did suck was they were still under curfew. So although we were like staying at the resort, all the staff had to leave early. So like the club, I remember the first 2 nights we went to the club, we'll be getting there, everyone else will be leaving. Right. And we were just like, club over already. Like it's 10 o'clock. We just pregame. Like we lit. Like what y'all doing? So like once we got hip to why they were closing early, we just moved our pregame up a few hours.
It ain't no problem.
No problems. We adjusted it. We got through it or whatever, and I think it was still a good trip just because we were so desperate to get out and do something by that time. But and I know now most countries have gone to where like the regulation now is like you get tested before you even leave, which I remember saying they should have did that opposed to waiting until we got there. I thought that was backwards. But now an additional regulation they put in place though is like you having to test in the country you're traveling back from too before you're able to come back home, which is why we're like kind of putting our travel plans on ice right now. But yeah,
but even speaking of travel, I feel like something I've noticed is I feel like everywhere else has more safety precautions than we do.
Yeah, they do.
Which is really weird. I mean, being that our cases are so high.
Yeah.
Like Aruba, for instance, you know, they were okay. Get this hand sanitizer.
Yeah.
Let me take your temperature.
Yeah.
Versus here, they take temperatures.
Yeah.
But if the hand sanitizer is there, but if you don't use it, then you don't use it.
Yeah, you don't use it.
But other places, they're like, okay, get this hand sanitizer before you come in here. For instance, even Puerto Rico, even though that's U.S. territory, I went to Puerto Rico last weekend, and everywhere we went, they were taking our temperatures. Every time we left the resort and came back inside, like every time we went out the front door and came back in, we had to get our temperatures taken, and we had to get the hand sanitizer. We went to eat places before we could go in the restaurant. They took our temperatures and made us get hand sanitizer. It's like they are proactively making us do these things, not like, okay, we'll put the hand sanitizer there. If you get it, you get it. You don't. Okay.
Right.
So I feel like, and even at the airport in Puerto Rico, when we got to the airport, you know how they have the lines, but every single line had plexiglass.
Yeah.
Like, so there was no way that you were breathing or sneezing or coughing on the person on the next line because it was plexiglass.
Yeah.
We don't have that.
Nah.
And even in the airport at RDU, people were social distancing because people were trying to get through this line.
Yeah. They got somewhere to be.
Right. Clearly. They're not standing 6 feet behind the person.
Right.
They're trying to get through. So that is one thing I've noticed in travel, that a lot of the other territories and countries have more safety precautions than we do.
I feel like that's because Americans feel like you can't tell us what to do because we're quote unquote the land of the free. So it's like you're not about to be regulating what I'm doing on a day-to-day basis.
But
So.
who free? That's the conversation for another day.
Took the words out my mouth. That's definitely a conversation. That's a conversation most not trying to have though. But you know, moving forward for the sake of this conversation. So how do you feel? You kind of touched on it a little bit, but what's your mindset like currently? I mean, you just went to Puerto Rico, so like what? Okay, sorry you guys, we're back. We had some issues. My camera low key died. Well, high key. But yeah. So as you were saying, Martecia.
Yeah, you were asking me basically how I felt about the pandemic now, and I still feel up and down. I still feel like I have my moments. Like, for instance, when I came back from Puerto Rico, I was thinking, okay, I'm gonna lay low for a little bit. I'm gonna sit back because I feel like it's the paranoia for me. Like, whenever I go somewhere and I be around people, as soon as I get back home, I'll be like, what was that? Do I got a body ache? What's wrong? And it's so stressful. I feel like that's the worst part of the pandemic for me. It's just the paranoia. Like, always being alert, like, okay, what I got going on. I do this to Landon at least. I do this to my son at least every day. You good? You okay? Like, that's the part that I hate. But I want to live a somewhat normal life. Of course, wearing masks or whatever.
Right.
But it'd be the paranoia for me.
As for me, I love a trip. So I'm with you. The fact that I can't be out here tripping like I'm used to and be out here during the typical hood rat things that I'm used to.
Right, because
it irks my nerves.
Y'all don't know, but this is the party spot. Y'all are currently in the party spot.
Listen.
We've had so many functions here.
Yeah.
It's legendary, okay?
Yeah. I'm not even going to get into that, but yeah, I love a good shindig, a hood rat shindig specifically.
For sure.
And if you're not trying to be on my level, honestly, you can stay where you at, and that's that on that. But yeah, I don't know if I'm ready for normalcy though. Like,
what you mean?
As crazy as that is, like, cause okay, so like my job is talking about us coming back to the office in a couple weeks, and I'm like, but why? Mm-hmm. We've shown within the last year that we can do it remote.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? I'm just like this is the less stress, like work-wise, I've been since I've been at work, and I've been working for this company for 8 years. So I'm like, yeah, 8 years, right? I remember when I first got this job, but that's another conversation too.
Right, and I think along with that, because I know we both work in Durham, traffic has been a breeze.
You just triggered me, so I got to tell my story.
Traffic has been a breeze.
It used to take me at least an hour solid to get to and from. That's a 2-hour commute Monday through Friday. I don't think people realize how that hits different.
It absolutely does, especially like in the pandemic. I was working, before the pandemic, I was working 8:30 to 6:30.
Period.
So when I got off at 6:30, it took me an hour to get home.
Yep.
I got a kid to pick up,
I didn't even have no kid to pick up, and it was too much.
Right. So the pandemic has been good in a lot of ways, and I think it's shown a lot of companies and a lot of people that they can do certain things from home.
Yeah.
Like certain things don't have to be inside the office.
Yeah.
For sure, traffic has been a breeze.
Yeah, that's definitely been an upside. I feel like traffic in general, you can tell though that people are getting fed up because traffic in the city is picking up at all hours of the day. It reminds me of back in the day, yeah.
Today it was definitely picked up.
Yeah.
Cause I came on Capitol Boulevard on the highway around 5 o'clock. Mm-hmm. It was a little nasty. It was like pre-pandemic nasty.
Yeah.
And I found myself getting frustrated because I'm not used to this. I'm used to getting where I gotta go.
Yeah.
Because
I'm sorry about that. I had to get rid of that camera because it was doing the absolute most. But anyway, so back to what we were saying though.
Right. So I was saying I'm used to getting where I need to go and getting there quickly because the pandemic has let everyone work from home. So it's not so many people on the roads and going back and forth. So traffic has truly, truly, truly been a breeze, especially for people like us that commute every single day. Well, you commute once a week. I commute every single day.
And that's enough for me.
And I know that would be rough just dealing with all of this and then having an hour commute to and from work. That's why. Like, and at these times, it just makes me realize, like, why was I ever doing that? Why was that ever, like, the normal thing to do, like, commuting an hour to and from work? Like, why? Yeah. Like, no. And I'm not talking about, like it just distance-wise is an hour drive. Like, no, it's sitting in traffic. Like, sitting. Really? And then, God forbid, it rains. Stop and go. Oh, my God. It's like stop and go traffic, just sitting in your car, like as if you hadn't already been at work all day. So what I will say though is those morning concerts on the way to work be busting. Okay, I will say that. I go to work in the afternoon, so I miss that part. I'm just saying, even now, you probably still got a 30, at least a 30-minute drive to work. My drive's still over 30. It's 45. Right. So those commutes. That 15 minutes makes a difference, though. For sure. But like, I know that essentially it adds up to 30 minutes. Like 15 there, 15 that. That 30 minutes is everything. Yeah, I know. I do appreciate my job being not down the street, because I feel like I can get mentally prepare myself. I can listen to my songs, have my little concert in the car. By the time I get there, I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
But I still appreciate that COVID traffic-free highway.
Yeah, agreed.
For sure.
Is there anything else positive that you can say came out of COVID, or we got rid of a president?
Right, where he at anyway?
I don't care. I don't care where he at.
Yeah, I think COVID has definitely had its perks. Like I said, I bought a house and the mortgage rates are super low.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I probably had the lowest rate that people have had in like years.
Yeah.
Low traffic, low mortgage rates, working from home. And I guess just appreciating life and the time that you get to spend with your loved ones, because I know a lot of people haven't been able to have Thanksgiving and Christmas with their families, or especially if they have older relatives and people that are susceptible to the virus. You cherish those moments when you don't really have them. Yeah,
that's actually a downside for me though, because like I don't have a lot of family in state, so like for holidays, everyone typically comes to our house, and like my grandparents, like it's tradition, they always come up for Thanksgiving and Christmas. Right. And this was the first year, I think ever, that I haven't spent with them for Thanksgiving or Christmas. So that was something to adapt to. But I actually thought it was pretty cool though. Like being that I only had Thanksgiving basically with like immediate family. Like I've never had that before. And like I know my younger sister. So basically my younger sister clearly didn't have faith in my parents' cooking capabilities, but I don't know why. Like my dad cooks all the time. Granted, my mom doesn't, but that doesn't mean she can't cook. She just doesn't like to, and that's the energy that I have. Like right, like I can cook, but I don't like what comes with that. Like when I'm hungry, I just want it to be done.
Dishes for me.
Yeah, I don't like that process either.
Dishes for me.
Yeah, I don't like that process either, but it is what it is. But I feel like overall the holidays turned out better than what I anticipated. We FaceTime my grandparents actually when we opened gifts, so I guess we just had to make do with what we had.
Right, and even like for your birthday, we did the whole video shout out situation.
Oh yeah, that was lit.
So I mean, I think it just allows people to be creative and to tap into different ways of expressing how you feel and showing that you care to your family members. So I think the pandemic has had a lot of positive things. Of course, again, so many people have lost their lives and their jobs and their businesses and homes and anything else. But I think there are some positives to it, and I hope that we can take this, for instance, the working from home and stuff like that. I'm sure there have been plenty of people that, oh man, I got to take off work today because my kids are sick or whatever. Yeah. But now you know that you can work from home. Yeah. So I think the pandemic can teach us a lot of positive things. Hopefully we can just get up out of here. We can get out of this and get back to a better normal.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. I feel like what I took out of this was like spending time with your loved ones, and then also something that I can like apply to myself is now it takes away the saying like you don't have time for something. Like for me anyway, due to the fact that I now work remote, I know a lot of things throughout the week that I wanted to do. I will always be like, man, I don't have time for this due to commuting to and from work, due to the hours I worked. It was just like exhausting. But now it's like, granted, I still work again, like remotely or whatever, but I'm way more relaxed.
Right.
Like it's not all that overhead and stuff. And I've shown that like I can prioritize very well and manage my time wisely to still meet deadlines and stuff like that. So I feel like with that being said, it's not as stressful as it initially was. Right. And I feel like now that not as stressed as what I typically used to be prior to COVID, I feel like now when I'm off the clock, I don't feel as exhausted, and I feel like I still have, you know, a full day that I can still do other stuff like this podcast, for instance. That's how I was actually able to sit down and plan accordingly, because I had like this new boost of energy, so to speak. Like it was like I had a new lease on life due to this newfound concept of having time to, you know, put my energy into certain projects that I always wanted to do, but just felt like I never had the time or the energy for it.
Yeah, because you had been talking about this for a while.
Yeah.
Like, we talked about this a while back.
Yeah.
And, I mean, that's a plus.
Yeah.
Because in reality, you probably didn't have time.
I really didn't,
energy
though.
Or whatever, so.
Because, like, the way my schedule was prior to COVID, let's see, I would leave home 8 o'clock in the morning at the latest, and then I would get to work around 9, sometimes 9:30, depending on traffic and the weather. And then, like, I would try to avoid traffic coming home. So I worked overtime Monday through Thursday to try to avoid traffic. And then I would try to leave early on Fridays. But the way that traffic was set up, when I first started leaving work early, I would miss traffic. But then it was like, I felt like everyone had the same idea
Everybody
as me.
leaves early.
Yeah, so everyone started leaving early on Fridays. And I think I used to leave work around like 3. And it felt like I was leaving at 5 or 6 o'clock every day. Like, it was just like, I don't know why. Yeah, so by the time I got home, I still felt exhausted on a Friday.
Right.
Which is why I did hood rat things every Saturday to like wind down or whatever. But yeah, that's how I pretty much spent my COVID season or whatever. But I have been chilling more so now due to the rise in cases and due to the restrictions. Because again, majority of the trips we take now, that majority of us are well into our careers and like are big on traveling, most of the trips we do tend to be out of the country. Right, so now that a lot of countries require you to test prior to arriving, and the U.S. now has placed that regulation to where like you have to test prior to coming back. Right. That additional regulations was causing like a lot of us to be like,
is it worth it?
Yeah, is it worth it? Because I don't want to go and be stuck.
Right.
So yeah, that's pretty much my mindset as of now. But like I said, the good thing in all of this is that I've just learned to like, not that I didn't know this concept prior to COVID, but it forced me to just like appreciate things a lot more.
Just slow down.
Yeah, that's the word. Just really, is to slow down. Yeah.
And all the hustle and bustle just kind of slow down.
Yeah. But yeah, I feel like a lot of things were mentioned that I kind of forgot about. Like I forgot about the toilet. I really forgot about the toilet paper, which is crazy. I forgot about the toilet paper, and even thinking back to how we initially started out. It's crazy to think that a year ago, something that we were so foreign to, we now have adjusted to.
Yeah, and
it seems so normal.
Flies.
Yeah, within a year. And something else I want to touch on real quick that doesn't apply to us. Could you imagine going to school right now?
Right, and I mean that's a reason why I didn't. I mean, I could have sent Landon to a preschool or tried to get him in kindergarten, but it's like I didn't want him to go to kindergarten in the kitchen. Yeah. I want to have that first, like walking him to school with his first day of school outfit and his school bag, and even people that are graduating. Like it's not the same at all. Like I would, luckily, I mean, I graduated law school in 2019, so luckily I got out before all this happened. But I couldn't imagine having to walk across the stage virtually, or to like I worked too hard with a small degree. But at the end of the day, it's crazy.
Yeah, like I applaud my sister. My younger sister actually is graduating from high school, but my other cousin graduated last year in the middle of a pandemic, to where like none of us could show up, and it was just legit like just the immediate family that was able to show up, and it was a drive-by graduation. So like when they called her name, they literally just drove by, screamed, yelled, did whatever. And that was that. And I'm just like, dang, that's so unfortunate. And then also, her and my sister didn't get to experience like prom or like none of that. And like, I'm just like,
it's
dang.
Every big moment is kind of shut down right now. Like even so, proms, graduations, people giving birth by themselves.
Yeah.
No one could be in the room with
them.
Same
thing with funerals too.
Right. And especially when so many people are dying from COVID and then you just can't even go pay your respects or it's crazy.
Yeah, I know one of our aunts passed away. And like, yeah, it was literally just immediate family. I think they ended up getting her cremated because like nobody could go to the funeral.
Right.
So it was
it's really, really crazy. And I feel like it's real tough. And for things like this, people need to just tap in and pay attention to your mental health.
Absolutely.
Because like I couldn't imagine having to bury somebody close to me and nobody being there. Or I can't imagine giving birth and just having to be by myself, just me and the doctors.
Yeah.
Like, it's really crazy, and hopefully we'll be back to a sense of normalcy soon.
Yeah.
But yes, it's really crazy.
Yeah. Well, this is really late to be doing this, but I'm gonna blame this on the liquor. So disclaimer. So I'm not gonna lie. When we were about 10 minutes into this video, I was like, you know what? We took them shots and just jumped directly into tonight's topic.
And y'all don't have a clue who we are.
Y'all don't know who we are, what we about, nothing. This is ridiculous. But for those that do not know me, my name is Adam Paris. You know, this is my podcast entitled Sip on This, which I kind of touched on at the beginning. This is, I would say friend, but that's so weird to say. Like, this is family. Like, I don't even know. How long have we known each other? Honestly, it's probably too long because we've gotten into a lot of stuff together that we probably shouldn't have. But you know, it's hood rap festivities.
It'll make for a good story time.
Yo, our story times would be real lit, like ignorant. If like y'all knew the stuff that we did, like in our youth,
we don't look like what we've been through.
Listen, and that's the goal. That's always the goal, to not look like what you've been through in life. But yes, this is Martecia, and go ahead and shout out your Twitter. And Instagram. I'm sorry.
Oh my gosh. So follow me on Instagram at your_fave ESQ. So your favorite Esquire, because I'm your favorite lawyer. I'm your new favorite lawyer. Okay.
I'm gonna still put her info in the bio or whatever. I'm gonna get her up here, of course, periodically or whatever. Like when I had this podcast in mind, part of the reason why I wanted to do it is because, for one, I feel like the core group that we associate ourselves with, being friends and family, we all come from different backgrounds, and like it's a lot of perspectives as far as like when we have open discussions. It's interesting to hear people's takes on those topics due to the backgrounds in which we come from. And due to the fact that we're all Black and brown people that come from different walks of life, we're all successful in our own ways. And a lot of us, as you'll see in upcoming episodes, a lot of us, speaking of the pandemic, a lot of us have been fortunate and blessed enough to actually have like side hustles that have actually taken fruition to where like they've actually become people's main source of income, which I think is a blessing, a real blessing, because I feel like that's the end goal, to like work for yourself opposed to working for somebody else.
Right.
So that's kind of the reason why I also did this, to kind of showcase those people and like so they can speak to the things that they've been able to work towards and the goals that they've been able to achieve during this tough time during this pandemic. But with that being said, we're going to go ahead and wrap up tonight's episode now that we're a little wavy. But yeah, man. So again, this is Martecia. I'm going to drop her information in the bio. Thanks again, sis, for breaking in on this premiere episode. And is there anything you want to say in our closing statements?
Just thank y'all for joining us. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. I hope it was enlightening to you.
Yes.
Drop some comments below if you agree, if you disagree. We want to engage with you all.
Absolutely.
Thank you for joining us, and we will see you all next time.
Yeah, so to piggyback off of what she said real quick, I actually want you guys to comment down below as far as other topics that you guys will be interested in us talking about. Like, I don't just want to be up in here just like talking about random stuff that you guys don't care about. Like, we want to talk about stuff that you guys are genuinely interested in. So if you could just like, you can DM us, you can drop the comments down below, whatever the case may be. And like, what my plan is going forward, depending on the topics that you guys come up with, I plan on just like having like a drawing at the end of every episode. So like we'll pick the topic so you'll know beforehand what we'll be discussing in the next episode. So I'll also know who I feel as though in my core group will be able to add the most, value to the next topic. But with that being said, thank you guys. Stay blessed, and we out.
Thank you for tuning in to Sip on This with A Paris. About to get lit with these topics. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for the love and your time. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Without further ado, I bring to you this for you to sip on too.